Well, Steve, Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama have not necessarily been a good place for Mississippi State in the past. Is there anything that you see in this particular matchup that will change that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, at this point in the season, Mississippi State is who they are. Alabama is who they are, and Alabama's really good. Mississippi State's still trying to find a sense of themselves and find some rhythm and get more consistent play at quarterback. And so those are things you're working through, and this is not a good place to try to get well at because the Crimson Tide very, very unforgiving.
Absolutely, and the one, I guess, redeeming thing at this point is that Mississippi State is coming off an open weekend where they had a chance to work on some of the things that maybe have plagued them, over the first month or so of the season, starting with, I guess, the quarterback situation.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just a quarterback situation. Offensive line protection, kind of settling the lineup there. Cole Smith inserted into the second half lineup against A&M proved to be kind of a settling factor for them because he can call the protections. And talking to some people from behind the scenes, that's one of the things the Bulldogs struggle with kind of the revolving door at the center position is who calls the protections. And you've got guys that are not very familiar with doing it. James Jackson, Cole Smith, both first-year starters from Mississippi State. So that's been something that hopefully has gotten better in the 2 weeks. And, of course, wide receiver play, being able to settle into this zone, and that's kind of a recurring theme for us. We keep talking about that. And maybe at some point it's going to click. I don't know that it's today, but at some point maybe we've made some progress and move ahead and win some ball games down the stretch.
Yeah, the 2 weeks off have been good as far as getting this team maybe a little better prepared for Mike Leach's offense and really the defense as a whole as well. But also over the 2 weeks there's been a lot of personnel turnover.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's unfortunate. I mean, it's one of those things, too, you look at the long-term development of the program, and you say, okay, maybe letting the foundation be laid here and kind of setting some standards are an important part of the development, and they certainly are. But anytime you lose players midseason, no matter the reason, it impacts your depth. And Tyrell Shaver's a guy from this very program in Tuscaloosa. We expected to be an impact guy. Had a big game against LSU. It's kind of disappeared a little bit since then. And some of these guys are making moves of their own volition to move on. Garrett Schrader, Jalen Maiden are guys and they're quarterbacks, and they're trying to find a place that they can play. And so it kind of makes sense they're going to go into the portal. They're not playing now. They don't want to run the risk of getting hurt, and they want to be somewhere where they can compete for a starting job in January, and it's not going to be here. But anytime that you have upheaval within the program in season, it really casts kind of a negative shadow on things and what's already kind of been a negative season for us.
Yeah, and, one of those upheaval moments, I guess, that you didn't mention is a guy that usually when you come to a place like Alabama, you kind of lean on, and that's an experienced, talented player, and that was Kylan Hill. He won't be here today.
No, and last time we were up here, he was kind of the guy, and it wasn't a great day for State, but he did get into the end zone even though some bogus officiating took that touchdown away from him. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing at the beginning of the year that people were so excited about. You bring in KJ Costello, who was somewhat of a proven commodity in the Power 5, but you knew what you had in Kylan Hill, and you're thinking, okay, well, how does he acclimate to the new scheme? And so now you're getting a chance to go play without your best player, not just offensively but defensively. Arguably, your best player is no longer a part of your program. And there's no way to spin that and make anybody feel good about it. I mean, you can say, well, the distraction is no longer there, and that's true, but that's really kind of a minor thing in the grand scheme. When you get ready to go play, like everybody says, it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's, and that's a very important Joe that's no longer a part of the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the one positive thing, I guess, early season has been the play of the defense. And, Alabama's awfully proud of their offense. It will be an interesting matchup, their offense against Mississippi State's defense. But what do you expect out of that defensive unit today?
Well, I think they're going to play hard. That's kind of become their trademark. And, State has really done a good job early in ball games trying to, limiting the ability to run the football. Najee Harris, probably the best running back they've played to date. Isaiah Spiller at A&M, certainly a stud. But Najee Harris, one of the most highly recruited players in the country, kind of quietly having a big year because everybody around him's had a big year. Of course, the big news, Jalen Waddle out for the season for Alabama. You hate that for any player. But I think the story's been Mac Jones. And I think in order for Mississippi State to keep this game competitive is they've got to influence Mac Jones. They've got to bring pressure, confuse him some. Hopefully he'll throw them the football. I think he only has 2 picks on the year, which is a far cry from the production that we've had at quarterback in Mississippi State. But you can't let him get comfortable. You can't let him just line up and be, one of those balanced offenses. You've got to take something away, and I think you put the game in his hands. But he's proven to be very capable of making plays.
What does Mississippi State do to stay in this ball game?
Well, number one, you got to don't turn the football over. That's been Mississippi State has been its own worst enemy the last 3 weeks. Is turning the football over. I mean, even against A&M, when you begin to put some success together, I kind of turned to you in the press box. I said, "Here comes a pick," and lo and behold, the very next play, there's a pick. Be patient. Take what the defense gives you as quickly as possible. Don't try to get too deep into the progression. Take what they give you, because this is going to be an elite defense you're going to play against.
Absolutely, and stay with us at 247 Sports. GenesPage.com will be covering the ball game here in Tuscaloosa.